All right, good morning. Welcome into another edition of Catching Up with Tommy Mac podcast here on 1010XL's podcast platform at 1010XL.com. Of course, on the 1010XL app as well, and shared all over the World Wide Web, other podcast platforms, and social media. It's great to be here. Great to be alive. It's a Tuesday morning, a suck it up Tuesday, if you will, earning the weekend today. Making some do-re-mi, getting it done. We're going to try to get it done for you right here, of course, brought to you by our good friends at Team Tommy Mac, some of the best local small businesses, regional too, that get it done the right way. They've got the right culture, the right people, and the right service, and they back it up, just like my favorite kind of football teams. Got a lot to get into today. Championship week is set. Oh, the memories, no doubt about that. Going to be a couple of great games. Of course, there's a new hire here in Jacksonville, a brand new defensive coordinator. Looking forward to getting into that. We're also going to check out. There's a lot. Now, granted, things can happen between now and the start of free agency, but there's a good amount of interior defensive tackles that we're going to take a look at, and I think are one of, I don't care who you get out of the top five at least, to bring here. They'll make a difference. We'll get into that, but let's welcome in Grammage. Good morning, my esteemed producer. How you doing, brother?
Good morning, sir.
How's it going? Good weekend?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It was a good weekend.
Yeah, it was good. Hey, I thought the games were fun, entertaining, down to the wire. Man, so much, I don't know. I love it. I love playoff football, man. It's do or die. I mean, it's sudden death. It's overtime times, a million. Every play counts, right? Every play should count during the year, and it does. But it really it ups the ante big time when you're trying to get to now one game away from the Super Bowl. Every kid's dream that ever played football. You want to go to the Super Bowl. You want to play in the Super Bowl. You want to make a big play in the Super Bowl. You want to win the Super Bowl. All that coming to fruition for four teams right now.
You really feel like starting with championship Sunday and then obviously the Super Bowl, that's when you really feel like you're watching history.
Yeah.
Like you feel like these are games that 25 years down the road,
yep,
if something dramatic happens in these games, like you'll remember it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you still might in the divisional round and stuff, but you know what I mean? Like
no, totally.
The theatrics of this dramatic play propelled a team to go to the Super Bowl. You remember those plays.
Well, here's the thing, too. You don't remember the losers of the games. And you don't really remember the losers of the Super Bowl. You would, you think about it, of course, but you remember if you're a fan of that team, you'll remember. I mean, I remember 96 and 99 and how just awful that was, having to walk away from that, not going to the Super Bowl twice in 4 years, which was an incredible run by an upstart team. But, nobody remembers. You go outside, go ask somebody in like Iowa, hey, who lost in the AFC Championship game in 1996? I don't know.
Yeah, if the trivia question is the Packers beat the Patriots in that Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Who'd the Patriots beat in the AFC?
I don't know.
No one's going to know that answer.
No.
Yeah, you're
guess.
right.
They're going to guess. Well, that's why it's special. And when you got that ring, man, which I don't, I've got other than that's the only ring I wear, but I'd wear them. I don't know if I'd wear them every day, but I'd wear them, man. They're special. Like nobody can ever say anything. Like can't take nothing away. You're a Super Bowl champ, and there's only 53 of them now, right? What are we going on? What number are we? 57? What
Super Bowls? I think it's 57.
It is 57. Yeah.
I
don't know. I lose track after a while, but nonetheless, we're gonna get a great game because these next two games are gonna be quite outstanding. Dan Campbell, really all four coaches, they got it going on, man. They got tough teams. They got physical teams. They make mistakes from time to time, but overall they're solid. They don't make stupid penalties. Sometimes they do, but most of the time they don't. They're a bend don't break kind of defense sometimes. They make the plays
confirmed.
when they have to. What's that?
57 confirmed.
57's coming up.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Go ahead.
Beautiful. So 57. There's only been 56 of them.
Yep.
Of winners. Super Bowl champs, man. I'm telling you, it stings every year. Every year. Now, 96 stings more than 99 because 99 I was hurt. Still a member of the team, of course, but 96 started almost that entire year, including all three playoff games. Stings every year. every year. So it is absolutely special. Going to be great to see KC at Baltimore, Detroit at San Fran. Call me crazy, but I'm leaning a little towards Detroit on a Tuesday, Grammage. It's going to be very hard on the road. And does the magic stop? Did for us in 99 or 96 on the road. But can they break through? I don't know. I feel like there's a crack in the armor of San Fran. I do. I think you can make some things happen on their defense. You got to control a lot of great players, though. Obviously, yeah. I think, and I like that if Detroit's O-line Ragnar, I think, is kind of injured. Hopefully, he can play. But they're physical. Be a physical game. All the games last week were very physical. Fun to watch.
I'll tell you right now, Debo obviously didn't finish the game on Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what his status is. I'm sure he'll play because it's the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, but he's one shot away.
Right.
You know where I'm aiming.
And they're not the step back their offense takes when he's not in the game is crazy.
Yeah.
They are a drastically different offense when he's not in the game.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, I don't know that Detroit will win.
Yep.
But I know they're going to score points. They will score points.
I think so. I mean, San Fran's D's good. Their linebackers can cover great. I mean, they are really good at that. They're good up front.
But they gave up points to Jordan Love in that offense.
But they were rocking throughout the last half of the year.
They were, but Packers. Detroit's even better.
Yeah, I think.
In my opinion.
Yeah. I'm leaning to. I don't know if I'm going to pick them yet, but I am, and I'm kind of caught up in the hype. Brunell being the QB coach and all that. I want him to win, but I like their team. They're just all four of these teams. Like I was saying, physical, well coached, ready to go. Don't make a lot of mistakes. They may from time to time, of course they do, but I'll tell you what, it's just, you look at us in Detroit, like after last year, we're both like, who's going up? We thought we were going up. They went up and we did not, but now maybe we get to turn it around. We'll see what happens. KC at Baltimore. I mean, Baltimore's defense was suffocating. They were, the Texans, they didn't have much of a chance. They were suffocating. They hung in there for a while like I thought they would, and then they pulled away. Of course, Lamar Jackson's, he's on a tear, man. He's got a mission to complete. Question is, can he do it?
Yeah.
Against the Mahomes-led Chiefs.
I was listening to a podcast last night that had Todd McShay on, draft guy.
Yeah.
Todd McShay.
Yep.
And he said something interesting that I agree with. He was like, as Lamar has progressed, they have developed further and further and further his downfield passing ability.
Yeah.
And it's obviously gotten much better.
Yep.
And part of that is because you need that element to be able to win a Super Bowl. And then part of it is to protect Lamar.
Right.
Health-wise, right? But he's like, now you're in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah.
And even this past week in the divisional round, like, all bets are off now. Like, whatever advances the ball you do. Right. So if you're the coaching staff for the Ravens, you're telling Lamar, hey, you take off when it's there. Like, everything's on the table. We
say that
now.
about here with Trev. It's a weapon. Don't embrace it. It's a weapon. By the way, looking at Lamar Jackson after the game, he had his cut off. He's yoked, man. He ain't skinny. He looks thin out there, but he is. No wonder he could take hits away, and he doesn't ever let anybody really drill him that bad. But no, that's a weapon, man. All these now, granted, Purdy's not running anywhere. Goff's probably not doing a whole lot. But the other two, they can take off and run. Don't count out Mahomes yet. And by the way, Jason Kelsey, he needs a hug. I said this on Twitter. He needs a hug, man. Like he's jealous of. I don't know what. No, this kid. He needs the attention. Hey, they're building a brand. I will say this: do it again. You got to go to Baltimore, and you got to have your shirt off, and you got to be pounding beers the entire time, and then jumping in and out of the windowsill. Do it. That's not because now it's superstition. You know what I mean? I used to have this thing with my oldest brother Bobby. God bless him. Had a little heart procedure. Yes, he's doing great. When he was working for a company called Aon Corp. Every Monday morning he was coming in hung over as all get out because we were on this run, and, me and Pete Mitchell, my roommate, would call him up, like, even from, like, as we're boarding the plane, hey, we're going to be home in a few hours. You got to go out. He'd always be like, Tom, I can't go out. I got a big day tomorrow. I'd be like, Bob, you're a good luck charm now, man. We're winning. You got to come out. This went on for like 6-7 weeks. He'd show up. Finally, the boss is like, all right, whatever. Bob's going to be a little slow on a Monday, but superstitions, they are believable when they work for you, no doubt. So Kelsey's going to have to do that. But those will be great games. We'll look further into those games on Friday and break them down. Let's get into the good news here in Jacksonville. Brand new defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen coming from the Atlanta Falcons as their defensive coordinator. And then before that, co-defensive coordinator with the New Orleans Saints. I like that he has a defensive line background, coaching background. That's his bread and butter. That seems to be his foundation. Big enough guy. Maybe he played it. I didn't look far back enough if he played maybe in college or whatnot, but at 6'5", he looks the part of a D lineman, a thin D lineman, kind of like Lageman. You see Lageman, he's tall and thin. He looks great, but obviously not as built up as he used to be. I like that it seems to be a tough love approach. Doug Peterson, and I quote, says he establishes accountability. Thank you. It's not that hard. It's really not that hard, man. And as long as it's genuine and consistent and fair, guys can handle it. It's really not just being accountable. I mentioned Campbell. I mean, it's Andy Reid. I mean, look at these guys. It's John Harbaugh. They're not all yellers. You don't have to be all yellers, but you got to hold people accountable, man. You got to make sure they're always doing the right thing, and maybe this is what the Jags need. I keep hearing Doug Peterson, Coach Peterson, feels like he can fix the offense. He can get it back. I'll say this, because we're going to look at free agents just on the interior defensive line. There's a ton of them that I'd love at least 5 or 6 of them. But I'll say this. I'm okay with everything on the outside, Grammage. You want to add a corner, that's fine. I think, everyone's like, oh, they can't play zone, they can't, whatever. I think they can play anything when you have a consistent pass rush. When you consistently don't have to cover for more than 3 seconds or 4 seconds or whatever it is, then you'll have better coverage on the outside. But offensively especially, I'm fine keeping everybody, right? Finding a way to keep Ridley, finding a way to keep everybody together. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with our tackles, our offensive tackles. Go on the defensive side. I'm okay with everybody, to be honest with you, except the interior defensive line. I'm not okay with. So build up those 2 areas. Focus on those. Sure, you're going to need another defensive back. Sure, you're going to need another wide receiver, another target for Trevor. No doubt about it. So build that up, and I think you're going to have a real good chance. And, a change in attitude, accountability, not, it's a learning experience. Not that we're going to get them next time, we're going to work it out. No, it's about winning now, holding people accountable. And they do it all different kinds of ways. I'm not saying Doug doesn't, but it doesn't appear that he does all the time, in my opinion. So I want to see more of that. And I was talking to Coach Campo, who I love talking to. He's like, a lot of times when you're the head coach, as he was for Dallas, you want one of your coordinators, especially like if you're an offensive guy and you want your defense, run by a coordinator, like Doug does. He wants to focus on the offense and have Ryan Nielsen take care of the defense. And that's great. Ryan Nielsen has shown in the past that he can do that. But having opposite styles works. Instead of having the same kind of personality, same kind of way, it's an opposite kind of way. Now, hear me out. Like Doug's maybe soft, softer spoken. It's not a yell. It's not a tough love, yada, yada. But maybe Ryan Nielsen is that. And I go back to Coughlin, and I don't know if that's the way head coaches feel, but I think back to look, Coughlin was always that bang, 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 hold you accountable, yell at you, all that stuff. Dick Duran was the opposite. Our defense coordinator was totally the opposite. He'd get hot on occasion, but very rarely. Wouldn't say anything. I wouldn't raise his voice. If Dom Capers came in, he would get hot on occasion, but again, maybe that kind of a softer type of approach than that general hard line. There's no gray area. It's black and it's white, if you know what I mean. So maybe Ryan Neal, look, how I feel. They need an attitude adjustment. They need some beef. up front, in the middle, on both sides of the line, and they need an attitude adjustment. They got to get an attitude like the Lions have. The attitude, we haven't done shit yet, and we're going to play our ass off every single game, proving that we haven't done anything yet. Because, again, yes, if they lose, it's still a great year, no doubt about it. But guess what? 5 years from now, you'll forget that they lost in the NFC Championship game to the San Francisco Niners, unless you're, of course, a Detroit Lion fan. So that's the attitude. And hey, look, I think we need a little humility. And it's not just me coming down on saying that. What did we hear early in the year? Believe in their press clippings. Good time to get out of Dodge. Good time to get away from here. Good time to go and, bond and like get away from all the noise, all the praise. We were all down there at camp. It was everywhere, flowing like champagne to everybody. I don't know. It is what it is. Can it change from year to year? Can the culture change? I'll tell you one thing. I do think it matters. I think practice has to be more physical during camp. You can't wait till the last day of camp to get physical. I think you've got to pump. I think you've got to thud. I think you've got to really work on tackling, really work on blocking, not burying the guy into the ground, not taking the running back or the receiver to the ground, but making sure. But they don't do that, and not every team does. I get it. But somehow other teams tackle well, and tackling's been down overall, but somehow they do. And then some, there's others that don't. To me, that's attitude. It's not coaching. Although this, they run the wheel, like they got to tackle this gigantic wheel. I don't even know what that assimilates. What does a big wheel assimilate? You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? Like, go. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm trying to be funny, but at the same time, I have no idea what that darn thing is used for.
If you're a linebacker or a DB in the open field,
yeah,
and you're getting juked out of your shoes when the season starts,
that's why.
It is because you've been used to tackling a wheel that spins in the same motion all summer.
Same plane. Or they do this. They do the gotcha, I'm not going to hit you. Now, you can't hit everybody. I'm not saying like when the receiver's running down the sideline, you want to blow them up or anything like that. I'm not saying that. But at point of contact, bump and run at the line of scrimmage, press coverage, pass rush, blocking on offense. You know when to let go. No lineman know when. I'll tell you, Kelsey, you watch him, he'll come off and get you, but very rarely does he try to bury you into the ground. He just lets you, once he knows he's got you, he just lets you go. Play's gone. You're never going to get there. And he goes back to the huddle. Watch him if you ever get a chance to watch him again. But I don't know. We'll see, man. Congrats to Ryan, though. That's a good jump, good move. And, hey, you got talent on this team. I've said it. But you need more. You need some beef. And then you need just a different attitude. A different attitude. You know what I mean, too. I shouldn't have to explain it. Especially anybody in that organization, man. It's got to be a better, tough love, accountable type attitude, in my opinion.
We said this last off season during training camp, and it never really came to fruition. I'd like to see a couple more fights at training camp this year.
Yeah, I mean, they're fine. The reason I like the when it happens, because then the next few plays are just almost game speed.
Yes.
It's not the fight. It's what happens after the fight. Everyone gets jacked up, and then you're as close to game speed as you probably can get in a practice.
And we've talked about this before. I'm not advocating for a bench clearing brawl that the whole team get nothing insane.
Yep.
I don't want anybody getting like badly hurt or anything.
Yep.
But like, in my opinion, if you're going day after day after day of dog days at camp, hitting the same dudes constantly, if you're really getting after it, like if you're really competing, then you should end up in a couple of extra shoves back and forth, extracurricular type things.
Yep.
And I just think that there's, that wasn't really the type of
training. But they never had a physical practice that would lead to that until the end, if you remember.
Right, exactly.
Right? What am I right? Like the last practice was when they did full tackling. Now I didn't even like full tackling. Like I was like, man, I don't know if I I like it in goal line, short yardage, that kind of thing. But open field, anything, you know what I mean? I don't need you. I need you to make sure you got them. You stop them. How do you know you got them? You stop them, like get in front of them, grab them, hold on to them, then let go. You know what I mean?
Right.
But they didn't. They weren't physical to the last practice. So, and then you hear from, Pat Kerwin and Jimmy Miller, my friends on Sirius. I'm talking to them. They're like, we just came from Pittsburgh. They're in pads, like physical tackling to the ground every day. I was like, wow, now that's a little much for me. You can get away with thudding. Thudding works. Thudding's like initial whack. You make drive a minute, and then you're done. Like you're not bringing anybody to the ground. You're not finishing your block into the ground. You're trying to stay up the entire time. Nobody goes to the ground. Occasionally it happens.
When you're thudding, and because I remember this just in my high school playing days, and when you're thudding, if anyone goes to the ground, the coaches get pissed. They get really
They're
mad.
Like, get off the ground. Yeah. Stay up. We told you that's not. And by the way, you can thud in just uppers too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You don't have to have full pads on to thud. Anyway, we'll see what happens. I'm going to have a better at it. I shouldn't say this publicly because I want to go and I want to support. I want to be down there. But I'm almost to I don't even really want to go to training camp practices. Because it's all like, it means something, but it doesn't mean anything. Until they go against somebody else, until it becomes real, then it matters. Like you get caught up in this, I don't know, roller coaster of hype and letdown and whatever. Almost like, I'll just watch them. But I'm going to go just because I like being down there, and I want to support them. It's a big year, man. This is Doug's 3rd year, Trevor's 4th year. It's going to be a big, big year for our franchise, for our organization, man. And I'm not saying it. You break it all up if it doesn't work. I'm not saying that, but you start thinking about it. You do.
The conversations get much tougher.
It's time. It's time to take that step into being a contender again. Again, I think they have the talent. I do, and I like Doug Peterson as a coach. I don't want to see any change. And look, you can have an opinion on Trevor. That's your right to have an opinion. My opinion is this: he's got too many tools to let him go. To not develop him. You can make him better. He has got to be better. I think he'll want to be better. I think he'll work at being better, but he definitely has to be better. There's no question about that. But that guy has shown the good stuff is really good. It is. I don't care. Take your bias out of it. The good stuff is good. The bad's bad. I agree. The awareness sometimes bad. The overthrows, the placement, I agree, is bad. But the good is really good. You just got to hone that in and make it good more times than not. And I think, look, you got to give him another year at least, in my opinion. You do. And he needs help. It's not just him. It's not just him, man. It's everybody. It's everybody. So it'll be an interesting off season. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, geez, with the season ending so late. I mean, the combine starts like almost a week after the Super Bowl, maybe 2. Graham's like, oh, I no rest for the wicked, right? There isn't. It's a year-round sport, and we're going to cover it, of course, right here on Catching Up with Tommy Mack.
You get this kind of lull in like June, early July.
Yeah, that's when you take the break.
It's like 6-ish weeks.
Yeah.
After OTAs.
Yeah.
OTAs end in like
you get
like
about
May.
5-6 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I mean, you know, because you were a player, you played it, but. Man, I feel, because we talk about this every year, the way the calendar is now, man, I feel for the rookies that come in.
Yeah.
No
rest.
They get, no rest. Dude, they don't get an off season, basically. Especially if you look at like Trayvon Walker.
Yep.
Like when he got drafted, he played in the national championship game.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, he went for basically 2 straight years with almost no off season.
He's really come on too, man. I mean, if you're Ryan Nielsen, you're excited about Josh Allen.
Did you see that people were finding
Trayvon
when Nielsen got promoted, because he left New Orleans to go to the Falcons to be the full-time DC. Cam Jordan tweeted about him, about like how sad he was to see him go.
Oh, I saw that.
How he's like one of the best coaches they ever had. Like,
and he's a D lineman.
Yes, like, and he was he talked about that specifically in the tweet. He's like, in terms of D-line development, man, this guy's it. Like, this is that guy.
Yep.
And Cam Jordan's one of the best in the game.
Without a doubt, and has been for a long time. I love that guy.
And I believe, if I'm looking at the timeline correctly, I'm not entirely sure how long Nielsen was in New Orleans, but
almost 6 years, I think.
He would have been there for the vast majority of Cam Jordan's development.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
From a young player trying to just figure out the NFL game to being one of the premier D linemen in football.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'll take that.
No, absolutely. Look, I'm not caught up in, look, what did they do in stats last year? Look, they added a ton of talent on defense last year. Ton of veteran. Good for them. Calais had another big year. You know, Jesse Bates, a really good, I mean, they added talent to that defense. He made it better. I mean, no doubt. They were good on third down, but we were good on third down. We were really good on third down. The unit that wasn't good on third down was the other side of the ball, the offense. They weren't good on third down. So I'm not going to – now, granted, they were at 33%. That was lower than us, so you got to give them credit there. That's doing some work. Double sack totals, but same amount of sacks as we had, 41, 42. You know, would you bring Calais back? Calais is on my list, by the way. Wait till I read you this list.
Is the sky blue, Tommy?
But wait a minute. Wait till I tell you who's on the list. Now, right now, unrestricted free agent. This list is like with no moves made yet. A lot of these guys, their team's going to re-sign them or figure it out or what have you. But wait till I tell you the list of top NFL free agents on the interior defensive line. Brought to you by Team Tommy Mac, Chris Lucero's Bail Bonds, Outback Marine Construction, Truck Accident Law Firm, Carpet Man, Azar Sausage, Solomon Ventures, J-Dog Junk Removal and Hauling, Graffiti Burger Bar, and more. Love every one of them. Make sure, if you would please, when I tag them out there in their in my posts on social media, please go visit their page and take a look at what they're all about. They wouldn't be on Team Tommy Mac if I didn't trust them, and you can trust them as well. All right, before I get into the interior defensive line, one name that came across that he's still playing, but I want a defensive back like L'Jarius Sneed of Kansas City. Tall, lengthy, tough, ready to rock and roll. You know, he's
really good.
Really good. Well, he's really good, but his attitude is like he's got swag, and he backs it up. And when I saw his list, I was just looking through a few different lists, top free agents, and his name, I was like, no, I like the way that guy plays football, man. He gets after it. But that's the kind of dogs I'm looking for next year. But let me just throw this list at you again, and in no particular order, really. These guys could be swallowed back up by their teams. I'm not saying we'd have a chance at it, but if in a perfect world, these guys are all unrestricted free agents. Okay, you ready? Chris Jones.
Yes. Where do I sign?
No shit. I mean, just
where do
like,
I sign?
What does he want? What does he need? Get him a mansion on the beach. Get him a penthouse apartment downtown. What else does he need? Car service, free food. What are we going to do for
Rent
Chris
out all
Jones?
the bars.
Justin Matabuki. I hope I got that right. Matabuki.
Really like him from the Ravens.
He is the Raven. He is really
Dude,
good. He's
beast.
I'm not letting him walk if I'm them because he's still young. Chris Jones, maybe you could see KC maybe go, we love you. We'd love to have you back. I mean, he's getting paid $28 million this year, I think, on a one-year deal, or they restructured him. Anyway, I'd take him in a heartbeat. Christian Wilkins. Yeah, he's available too, unrestricted free agent, defensive tackle from the Miami Dolphins. Total beast. Javon Kinlaw, unrestricted free agent out of San Francisco, came from Philly. He's been it's been hurt a little bit, I think, this year, or a lot of it actually.
He's been
he's a beast when healthy. Leonard Williams, the former New York Giant who went out to Seattle, defensive tackle for the Seattle Seahawks.
I wanted him 2 years ago when he was an unrestricted free agent.
Yeah, absolutely. Fletcher Cox from the Eagles.
Yes.
Daquan Jones from the Bills. Now, DJ Reader's coming off a quad, so we'll see if he can. He's an older guy, but, man, nobody can block him one-on-one. He's a beast from Cincinnati. Sheldon Rankins out of Houston had a good year. The top guys I think I've named. How about Quentin Jefferson out of the Jets? The only problem is he tried to jump in the stands when he was with Seattle. I don't know.
How full circle would that be?
Oh, that'd be great. I wonder if he could, both sides could forgive and forget. As long as he produces, right,
Dude,
Duval?
If you can get in the backfield and stuff the run and
he's
get
like,
some sacks.
I'm going to come up there and whoop your ass. They're like, come on up. As like 2 or 3 guys there. That was great. Classic.
Not
Duval.
If you look at that clip,
yeah,
and you look at the faces of Jags fans,
right?
There's not an ounce of fear.
No, like whatever.
Not an ounce of fear.
Yeah.
Not a single. Because you would expect fans, if a player is like really trying to legitimately, like he was,
like Ron Artest.
Yeah, you would expect fans to be kind of like,
yeah.
They were like,
no,
all right, let's go. It was one of the greatest Duval moments of all time.
No doubt. We love Duval, man. No doubt about that. All right, Grover Stewart, who's he got busted for the juice, but a beast at defensive tackle for the Colts on the lower level. Tier Tart from Tennessee. They question his effort from time to time, but he's made some plays.
They like my Titans buddies like him a lot.
Do they?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good player. And then you got Calais.
Yes.
All right, all I'm going to say is...
Can we sign all of them?
All I'm going to say is, please, get one of them. We need a dominant interior defensive line. Chris Jones, Justin Simmons, Fletcher Cox, obviously not good down the stretch. Christian Wilkins. These are difference makers. Aaron Donald, he's not on the list. But those kind of people, those kind of guys that penetrate, that can't be blocked one-on-one, that make big plays when they shut down the run for you or help you shut down the run. We need that. We need that kind of defensive tackle. We need it on the offensive side, too. There's no doubt. I'll look into that on the free agent side probably next week or maybe later in the week because it's about time we get into that. I usually wait till after the Super Bowl. And I'm not going to pretend I'm some guru or I can break down, some college kid coming out of college. But I can tell you who's good in the NFL and who's not that good, at least from my perspective anyway, which ain't the end-all, say-all anyway. You know what I mean? Sometimes it is subjective, what you want out of your player, what you're looking for out of your player.
And I'd prefer, out of that list you showed me,
yep.
I'd love
Matabuki, I think.
I'd love him. Don't
he
get me
is
wrong.
phenomenal. Phenom.
I don't think the Ravens are going to let him go. I would like, probably in a perfect world, a vet. It's been around a while.
I take Christian Wilkins would be a great find. And I love that he backs up he talks.
Yeah.
He grabs some nuggets, too, though. I wonder what that deal is. He's the guy that has been accused of, in a pile, grabbing guys' cojones, if you will.
Oh.
Yeah. It's happened to Josh Allen. He's kind of known from, I don't know, maybe he's getting him to cough up the ball. One ball for another. I don't know. I think, it's Christian Wilkins. I think he's been kind of looked upon as that dude. But he's a beast as a defensive tackle. I'd take him in a heartbeat.
And
totally take him in a heartbeat.
I just, if you tell me that I'm getting a guy that obviously produces, that's priority one. They got to produce. But you're also telling me I'm getting a guy that's a vet, has been around, has some leadership qualities, is vocal, will get after somebody, will chirp. Like, they need that so bad, man. They need a Cam Robinson of the defense.
Yep, I agree.
They again, we've talked about it multiple times. We don't want people being stupid. We don't want dumb penalties and stuff like that.
Right.
But like a little extracurriculars after a play, some attitude, really taking it personally that the guy across from me thinks he can beat me.
Right.
Hell no. Like taking that shit personally, that matters.
I really thought our defense, they were gonna, because the year before they finished strong, I just thought they'd have had more real swag, not faux pas swag. I think they've kind of, because look, again, and this goes back to 2022, 2023, last year even. What's the blueprint to beat our defense? You smack them in the face up front. You can take that as an insult. I'm not trying to be insulting, but that's been the man. You go ask, go look. That's what they did. Go look go back to even the Giants when we played the Giants. That second half, man, they started knocking us around. Dallas first half. Philly up there. Okay, rain, turnovers, but guess what? Miles Sanders had a field day. Got knocked around. It happened this past year. When you got a big defensive tackle like that guess what? A lot of that goes away. At least the perception of it does, and then you got to prove it on the field.
And
you can't be out physical in this game. I don't care how finesse you want to be on the outside. You still got to be physical on the inside. Got to have it.
And you talked about this until you're blue in the face with a 3-4, but even in a 4-3, either front, when you have a guy that consistently commands a double team, all of a sudden the math is in your defensive front's favor every play.
Right.
And they don't have a guy like that.
Well, regardless, 3-4-4-3, Grammage, you can't be pushed into the linebacker's lap. You can't. We have a hard enough time trying to get to the ball without your big ass in our way. I mean, that's what happens. You're like, man, get out of the way. Like, fall down. I don't know.
Tell
cut
this
the
is
guy.
Spoken from experience.
No, look, and I'm not. Look, I got blocked one-on-one plenty. I'm not sitting here saying I didn't, but no, it's like, you see it, and it's hard. You're trying to look. I've told this story before. In practice, Ben Coleman would come out to block me. He was our guard, 6'6", like 335, who was really good athlete. He blocked out the sun. Like Dave Weidel, 6'7", like they'd come out, you'd be like, where's I got to guess, you got to use the other guys next to you and keep them in between, but they're massive. Now, if you throw a defensive tackle in between us while you're getting at my grill, I'll make the tackle downfield maybe, but that doesn't do anybody any good. So got to be stout up front, man. And back to the O-line. I know the clip last show about Sheriff. Look, I think Brandon started off with the fire. I really do, because he was physical in camp. I remember watching him, like, even just in the drills, he was firing off. Now, maybe he got a couple injuries. I don't know, but they got to get that back. Him and Cam should be two of the, and then Anton, that's 3 out of the 5 that should be rough and tough and ready to rumble at any given moment. Being physical up front. Then add, Fortner, I don't know. He's athletic, he's tall, he's big, but I don't know. Get him on the juice or something. Get some strength or something, and then figure the rest out. But you're going to have to upgrade that interior line. At least bring in somebody that can compete, real competition.
He can't be my center next year. He can't.
Yeah, I know.
He can't play, man. He can't play.
No, he here's the thing. They think they love that he can pull. They want their center to pull out front. Why? It works if you got the right center. Watch Philly. Look how many times Kelsey pulls from the center. It's a really hard thing to do to pull from the center position, especially when someone's on you. And if your guard doesn't knock him off, so you can get out. You know what I'm saying? So they like that. And when he's out there, he's really athletic, Fortner is. But he's just not taking the guy in front of him and moving him when he has to. And you don't have to move him always into the ground. You just got to move him a little bit to give that back a crease right behind you. He doesn't seem to do that, or he gets blown over. Not all the time, but too many times. So that's why they want him to work out. And look at Walker. Now, Walker's fine, but Walker should be an all-pro in my opinion. He's got all the tools to be this magnificent offensive lineman, physically. I don't know about everything else. I don't know him that well, but to me, he should be killing people. I mean, he's Baselli big in his prime and athletic and feet, hands, all of it. He just doesn't have the Baselli, mentality of wanting to rip your head off.
And he steps on Trevor's ankle too much.
That's part attitude too, man. You're going to get beat. It happens. But you shouldn't get beat more times than not when you're top of the food chain. You shouldn't. You should be at a stalemate at the most. Agreed? You know what I mean? Even these defensive tackles, my guard, yeah, you might get beat by him, but you got to beat him sometimes too. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, maybe. Now, granted, we've seen Chris Jones wreak havoc in our backfield in the past. He killed everybody.
He won that game by himself, dude. I mean,
he's like, hey, coach. The coach's like, hey, Chris, where do you want to play today? He's like, I don't know. Let me try over every offensive lineman position. I'll get something going.
Because I'm going to kick all their asses. I mean,
he did. He's that kind of player.
It's like, what do you, if you're a quarterback, what are you supposed to do about that?
Get the ball out quick or take off and run.
That's what he did. And he had 700 injuries by the end of the year.
I tell you, he's got to run more.
I mean,
he does.
Trevor had a concussion. He had an ankle. He had a knee. He had a shoulder.
Listen, Stroud had a major concussion, out for 2 weeks. That's a wash.
Well, that
you know what I mean? I mean, look, we get concussions. It happens. The shoulder, I think, hurt him at the last game, but that was the last game. Obviously, the knee and the ankle.
But when Stroud
he played with it too. Good. He played well with it at times.
Yeah. When Stroud came back, not so much the Ravens game because that defensive front is really, really, really good. But outside of that, like when they were playing Cleveland last week, Cleveland's got a good front.
Yeah.
He had clean pockets of most of that day, man.
Yeah. Their O-line played well in the end.
In the rare games,
not against Baltimore, but prior to Baltimore.
Oh, yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. The rare games this past season where Trevor actually did have decent time and was well protected most of the game, he had great games.
Yeah.
The Houston game in Houston, he was well protected most of that game. It was one of the best games of his season.
Yeah. Well, again, I think Trev needs to do more of that Trevor ball and get him into a rhythm. He's got to get better at second reads. He's got to get better at deep throws down the sideline. He's really good. I've always said this. He's really good inside the numbers. Digs, even posts. He usually puts it in the right spot. Those outside ones, they're supposed to be, outside if this is the line. He'll get there. I think he'll get there. And again, he's got a lot of work to do, but so does everybody else, including the staff. I mean, your job is to what? Make sure your guys can make plays. And we were commending Doug and Press, although we didn't know it was Press, for a long time about how he would set these guys up to being open. Remember last year, that whole time? Rub routes, motion.
Calling one play for another play.
Right, and just, it's confusing the defense. You can't. Look, and again, crossing routes, I've said this before, they're hard in man because you got to get through the wash, right? Other guys in the way. And they're hard in zone because you got to pass them off and then pick another guy up. And if they're crossing in front of you, one of them's open for a split second, unless what? Your D-line's hitting the quarterback. Then they're not open.
And there's not a zone defense that doesn't have holes.
No, they all have holes. It's a matter as if, can you disrupt the timing by getting to the QB or getting a jam if you can? If you're playing press.
Well, that's the thing.
Hard to get a jam on the inside, but,
2 years ago, when they did call a lot of plays to set up other plays, and they got drives with rhythm, and the interior of the pocket wasn't collapsing every play.
Right.
You can't. I mean, I don't care.
You can't.
I don't care if it's Sean McVay calling plays. If guard, center, guard are getting their ass whipped every play, it's not going to work.
Right.
It's not going to work.
One flip. Go ahead. Finish.
And I know I know you voiced your frustration with it, and I was frustrated with it as well. Yeah. Like how many receiver screens they called.
Right.
Well, they're doing that because they're trying to get the football away from the interior of the field.
Right.
Because the interior guys can't protect. Right. If those guys were protecting and moving bodies better, they'd have run the ball a hell of a lot more because it would have worked a lot more.
Listen, I did the stats last week.
Yeah.
The O-line's way down from a year ago.
It's bad, man.
They gave up more sacks by about 15 or 13, 15, and their yards per carry were a yard less. So is it all play calling or is it just not having the horses? I don't know. We're going to find that out. But flip it over to the defense, Grammage, because it just made me think of something. Think of the success that Josh and Trayvon had without that interior presence. Could you imagine if Calais was next to Josh this year? He had 6.5 sacks himself up there in Atlanta. Not bad for an old man.
Yeah, I can't imagine Calais with Josh because I saw it Josh's rookie year.
And then you got Trey, you know what I mean? I mean, that's what I'm talking about. You know what, though? They thought Fatukasi was going to be that. They did.
He's been, is it fair to say, the free agent class from 2 years ago that, for the most part, looks so good? He's been the biggest disappointment of that class.
I don't know. I mean, the first year he was injured. He did have a serious quad injury. If you can't go, you can't go. You lose. You know what I mean? You got to have power. You got to have all your tools when you're playing defensive tackle, especially this year. They all were all the interior, minus Roy Robertson Harris, who played okay from time to time. He had a good run for a little bit. I don't think he finished that strong. I don't think any of them did. But, no, the other guys didn't do much.
And I think Roy is what he is. Like, Roy is a really good player. He punches above his weight class, I think, in terms of potential.
He's a tough dude, and he does. He's just not a. He's not a real interior guy. He's more of a defensive end type.
Yeah,
he's not a DT. He's just not built for it. But I'll tell you this: he plays a lot better with a massive DT next to him. My opinion.
And Roy, wasn't a high draft pick. Out of UTEP,
right.
Went to Chicago, wasn't even supposed to make the team, really was good there, obviously earned a nice contract here,
right.
He's overachieved his whole career, and I think even here he's overachieving because he's still playing really well, but he's never going to be this Chris Jones living in the backfield type of guy.
No.
He's a guy that if you have that guy next to him, just like you just said, or, a big old DT that, always commands double team.
Yeah, they go together.
Then he's going to really be a nice complementary piece to that.
Yep.
But if you're relying on Roy to be your main interior wrecker,
he's not that.
Then you're not going to have a main interior wrecker.
Right.
Because that's not who he is, like you said.
Right. If we ran a 4-3, he wouldn't play 3 or 1. He'd play 5.
Yeah.
He just would. And he would be a good 5. He'd be a really good 5, I bet, in a 4-3. We'll see. I don't know what Nielsen plays, but we'll find out. And at the end of the day, I don't care what you play. Just have the right personnel for the defense, respectively.
I read up on him a bit after I heard the news. From what I heard, he's mostly a 4-3, but he played a lot of 3-4 as well. He's a pretty versatile front guy.
Yep.
And then he plays a lot of man.
I think your base should be 4-3. You can always use the 3-4 in different situations, but your base should be 4-3. I think you're better against the run. You're better against the run. And the only reason I say that in a 3-4, there's an uncovered guard. And he gets on your linebacker, and it's, it's challenging. When you got someone that's shaded over him, he don't get no free reign. And that's when linebackers are at their best. Make those guys miss.
That's why you always say if you're going to run that 3-4, you better have a nose.
Got to have a nose that doesn't get pushed around at all. Doesn't get moved at all. He's a brick, and you can't move him. And if you let go of the double team too early and you run to his side, guess what? He's making the play. That makes sense? You crash down. I mean, the ball goes that way, and the guard goes up on my back, or guess what? He's making the play.
You're describing Vita Vea.
Yeah.
That's who you're describing.
I'd like Vita Vea in front of me. Jeez.
Well, but, I mean, you've said this, and you've kind of educated me on this, but watching ball, I totally agree. I mean, you run a 3-4 if you've got the personnel to run a 3-4.
Yep.
And then it'll really work. But again, like you said, without that nose, you really don't have the personnel for it, so run a 4-3.
Right.
Because I think more teams are most likely going to have the personnel to suit a 4-3 better.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, guys like Vita Vea, how many guys like that are walking the planet?
Not many.
It's less than 32.
Right.
It's less than 32.
Right.
It's probably less than half.
Yep.
It's probably less than 16.
Yeah, they were crediting Ragnow on his game. Like, what a tall order that was this past week. The line center.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, they're like, because he looked tired. They're like, give that guy a medal going against Vita Vea all game long.
Can I have both of them?
Yeah, no doubt. No, you're right. You're right. But you know what? Here's again, let's look at Philly's D-line. Jordan Davis, Fletcher Cox. Who's the other kid from the big
Jalen Carter?
What's that?
Jalen Carter.
Jalen Carter. But they get pushed around, or did get pushed around. I think a lot of that's attitude, too.
They lost their edge for whatever reason.
I think it's attitude.
They lost they had Philly, their defense, dating back to last year and most of this year, the regular season, until they lost it. That defense played nasty.
Yep.
And they played mean, and they played pissed off. Something happened, and
they played San Fran is what happened, and they got the crap kicked out. I don't think they ever recovered.
Yeah.
Much like you-know-who.
Yeah.
Kind of similar. You know what I mean? They were 10-1. 10-1, rocking and rolling in the driver's seat, and then they finished the way they finished. That's in the locker room, man. There's something missing there. But with those big studs, it shouldn't be that way, at least in my opinion. All right, we'll be back on Friday. We will talk more championship week. I tell you, not to get sentimental, but 96, a year after my father died, and then starting that whole year and going to the AFC Championship game, it was so emotional. It was so awesome. I'll never forget it. It's too bad we lost. It would have been incredible. Even if you don't win, I'd rather win the Super Bowl, but to get that close and not be there, man, that's like when I said earlier when in the first round of the playoffs, I hope every Jaguar player is watching this and it stings you because there is something special about going to the playoffs. And when you're sitting around with your buddies, yeah, you're going to talk money, you're going to talk other stuff, but you're also going to talk Super Bowl rings, playoff appearances, championship appearances, those types of things, and they matter because you're like, wow, here's a great example. Last week on Tommy Mac's Happy Hour, Nolan Carroll, our guest, me and Bees talking. Bees' first 4 years with the Jags, he's going to the playoffs and AFC Championship twice. I was 4 out of 5. Nolan Carroll played 8 years in the league, 9 years, never went to a playoff game. And he just was like, man, I don't even know what that's like. I was like, well, some of your big games probably felt like a playoff game up at Philly, but seriously, think about that. Great career, done a lot of great things, had a pick for a touchdown on national TV against Eli Manning on Monday Night Football, tackled a fan, right? I mean, did all these, played in on a great defense with Brian Dawkins and other great Philly defenders, never went to the playoffs. It means something, man. It does, And I could sit, hey, I wasn't no all-star, but guess what? I'm from a playoff team, man. We went to the playoffs 4 years in a row. And it meant something every year. And we had to work our ass off for it. We had to play our ass off for it. And if we didn't, we usually felt the wrath of our head coach. And it was all good. No wrath here, though, because it's a Suck It Up Tuesday. It's a work day. And we got to get to work today. I hope you all have a great day. I want to thank you all for listening to Catching Up with Tommy Mac. I want to thank Team Tommy Mac. I love you, man. I love what you do. I love what you stand for. And I love the businesses that you provide to my great listening audience. Again, please, when I tag them on my social media posts, go check out their pages. You'll see why they're a part of Team Tommy Mac. Until next time, y'all stay safe out there and be cool, man. We'll see you right here on Catching Up with Tommy Mac. Peace.